You cannot write good poetry if you do not read good poetry. What's good, guys? My name is Steven Castillo. You guys might know me for writing music and writing poetry on Instagram, but I also major in English and music at a university with a focus on American literature. So basically in this video, I'm gonna teach you guys my process on how I started writing poetry, some recommendations of books to read, and how to read poetry in a way that facilitates writing that is quote unquote good. First of all, first mistake people make, you guys wouldn't try directing a movie without watching a movie, right? Or you guys wouldn't try making music without listening to music. My point here is you need to read poetry. I think there's not enough people who read poetry in this world, and that's why there's a lack of poetry right now. I think if we have more people sort of getting into poetry and having the right sort of tools and the right sort of knowledge to get into poetry, we can have an ecosystem that sort of feeds into each other, so there are more poets in the world and that more people are exposed to poetry, songwriting, and more abstract thoughts that are not from ChatGPT. This is what reading poetry does, right? So reading poetry trains your vocabulary, right? So it helps you get new words and not just use words from the thesaurus that sound good, that sound very smart, but in reality, they're very cliche and very forced, and they don't feel like they belong. Because in poetry, you have to stick to semantics, where if you get a word that's out of place, it feels out of place, and it's like something that sticks out, like a sore thumb. That's what I feel, and you guys aren't looking smart by putting in a word. It's like that nobody uses in mainstream. You guys need to learn that not everything is big words and it's like people always think that poetry is just big words and rhyming. That's their equation, but it's not. And that's why you guys need to read more poetry. Part 2, I think the sort of main reason not enough people are getting into poetry is because when they were exposed at a young age, mostly Shakespeare, right? But I don't think that's a good sort of starting point. It's actually pretty advanced. And I think what you should do, my sort of advice, is to start with modern poets and make your way back. So what I do is I start with a poet that I like, let's say Ocean Vuong, which is a Vietnamese poet. And then I sort of see who they were inspired by, let's say Kerouac, just an example. And then I go backwards, and then I go into this rabbit hole of, oh, this is why he made this decision to include this into the poem, rather than adhering to like conventions or some. My next piece of advice is to read aloud. I think reading aloud, even if it makes you sound weird, I think it's really cool. It helps you identify the syllabic intonation, which is basically the stressed and unstressed syllables. And I could get into that for another video if you guys want. That's what gives poetry the sort of rhythm and everything else, you know? Guys, giveaway alert. I just came back from the gym. Brief intermission though. I am selling fountain pens. If you guys are interested, they are fountain pens. I'm selling them in a package with some ink and some handwritten letters. It's either your name or a lyric or anything you want me to write for you. So yeah, if you are interested, they're gonna come in this box. Follow my Instagram. I'm doing a giveaway, and DM me on Instagram that you followed me. And yeah, if you do want to buy these, I think they are gonna be sold out really quickly. They're all gonna be sold out. Let's get back to the video. Last but not least piece of advice, which is rereading everything that you like. Put it into a Google Sheet and put the lines that you like on a Google Sheet and get back to it when you're out of inspiration, when you're writing a poem. So my sort of suggestions would be Ocean Vuong, Jack Kerouac, and then Mary Oliver, Jack Kerouac. Jack Kerouac on the Road is really good. It's not a poem, but it's a short story novel. Ruth Allen Ginsburg. And I don't suggest Rupi Kaur. I know people say Rupi Kaur, but I don't suggest that. I just don't. But anyways, what should you do if you want to write more poetry? So if you want to get better, faster, you need to write daily, and make sure you read daily, at least 30 minutes. And you sort of look at the shape of the poem, look at the form of the poem, whether it's rhyming, whether it's not rhyming, and you sort of assess, why is it rhyming? Why is it not rhyming? What is the subject of this poem about? What is it trying to say? That's the main thing that you sort of have to analyze first, because that could be the basis of your poem and why you make your decisions, whether it's language or structurally. One thing too is cut all of the fluff out. I noticed that people sort of make everything so stagnant and put a lot of filler words just so they could fill up the page. But even the best poetry are just haikus, which are 6 words or something. Let's say you have like a end of the week, you have like a revision session, check off all of the poems you wrote. Let's say you wrote one a day, and it's like, maybe this one's good, but you guys have to be realistic and remember that only 10% of everything you make will be good. So if you make 10, there might be one that's decent, but if you make 100, there might be 10 that's decent. That's with me with the songwriting too.